Have you ever wondered why some absolutely brilliant ideas just fizzle out, while others become these massive household names? Well, it's usually not about having a better idea. It's about having a better blueprint. And today, that's exactly what we're going to dive into, the marketing process that can turn a simple flash of inspiration into a seriously thriving business.
So what is it? What's that secret ingredient that separates a fleeting thought from a real, lasting enterprise? It all comes down to having a structured, deliberate process. And we're about to break that whole thing down, piece by piece.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the big picture, the master plan. Then we'll get into crafting the core strategy. From there, we'll see how to turn that strategy into real action. And then, of course, nail the execution. After that, we'll look at the feedback loop that keeps everything on track. And finally, we'll wrap up by looking at 2 powerful blueprints for creating value. Let's get into it.
Okay, first up, let's get the 30,000-foot view of the entire system. Think of it like looking at an architect's final drawing before we even think about pouring the concrete. And here it is. This is our master map. Now, the first thing you've probably noticed is that this is not a straight line, right? Look at all those arrows. They show how every single part of this process connects to and influences all the others. It's a living, breathing thing, a continuous cycle of action, feedback, and most importantly, learning. So this whole cycle is really built on 6 core activities. It all starts at the top with high-level strategy, which then informs the planning. Then we get into the nitty-gritty with programming and budgeting. After that, it's go time with implementation, followed by monitoring to see what's actually working. And right there in the middle, holding it all together, is analysis and research. That's the engine that powers this whole loop.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, with the big picture thinking. This is where we build the foundation for everything else that's going to follow. It's all about defining that long-term vision and the plan to get there.
Our map puts strategy formation right at the top, and for a very good reason. This is the broadest, most foundational step you can take. In fact, this is the point where marketing strategy and the overall corporate strategy should really become one and the same.
So what is strategy formulation, really? It's where you answer the biggest questions. Like, what is our fundamental approach to the market for the long haul? Where are we going to play, and how are we going to win? The answers you come up with have to align perfectly with the goals of the entire company.
Now, if you follow the arrow from strategy formation on our map, you'll land right on marketing planning. And this is such a critical step. It's where that grand vision starts to become a real, tangible roadmap.
It's super easy to get these two confused, but the difference is absolutely critical. Think of it like this. Your strategy is your what and your why. It's the big destination you've put on the map. The plan, on the other hand, is the how. It's the detailed 2 to 5 year roadmap that shows the specific roads you're going to take to get there.
All right, so our long-term vision is set, we've got a plan, now it is time to get practical. This next phase is all about the short-term, actionable steps, the real nuts and bolts that actually bring that plan to life.
So, just like we separated strategy from a plan, we really need to separate a plan from a program. A plan, remember, is that multi-year roadmap. But a marketing program, that's way more specific. It's your detailed 1-year action list for a particular product or a particular market.
I love this quote because it gets to the heart of a huge challenge. You just can't do everything. Your resources, we're talking time, money, people, they're always limited. So this stage is really about making the tough choices of what not to do, which brings us to allocation.
Allocation is all about setting priorities. And budgeting, that's where you translate those priorities into cold, hard numbers. And this part is so crucial. The marketing budget isn't just a document for the marketing team. It creates the sales forecasts that tell the factory how much to produce, and the financial forecasts that the entire company relies on.
Okay, the strategy is set, the plans are made, the resources are allocated. Now comes the moment of truth, execution. This is where the rubber really meets the road.
Implementation is exactly what it sounds like. It is time to get the job done. We're talking sales calls, ad campaigns, social media posts, all of it. And this is where everything is on the line because, let me tell you, poor implementation can absolutely ruin even the most brilliant strategies. It's the moment that plans become reality. Now here's the thing. Great marketing isn't about launching a perfect plan and then just walking away. No way. It's a continuous cycle. The process doesn't end with implementation. In fact, that's when the real learning begins. If we go back to our master map, you can see how monitoring and auditing feed information right back into the process. This is that crucial feedback loop we're talking about. It's how you check your actual performance against the goals you set in your plans, and it's how you find out what's really happening out there on the ground.
But a meaningful audit isn't simple. You have to ask some tough questions. Like, who should even do it? An internal team or an outside consultant? How often should we be doing this? And how deep do we really need to go? The answers to these questions will determine how much you actually learn from your results.
So where does all that valuable data from your monitoring and auditing go? It flows right to the center of our map, to analysis and research. You should really think of this as the engine, or maybe the brain of the entire process. It's where raw data gets turned into the actionable knowledge you need to improve every single step of the cycle. So, we've walked through the entire marketing cycle. Now, let's just zoom out for a second. How does this whole process connect to the wider business and achieve its ultimate goal, which is, of course, creating value for customers and for the company? This shows the absolutely critical lateral connections between marketing and the rest of the business. Marketing is not an island. Your marketing strategy is your corporate strategy. Your marketing plan is the front end of the entire business plan. And your sales forecasts, they literally become the production schedule. Marketing is deeply integrated into every single part of the organization.
Here's another way to look at it, a second blueprint that shows the flow from analysis all the way to profit. See, it all starts at the top with analysis, what we call the 5 C's. The insights you gain there help you choose a target market and position your product. That, in turn, dictates your marketing mix. You've probably heard of the 4 Ps. Get that right, and you drive customer acquisition and ultimately profit. It's a really clear cascade from insight to action.
So what are these 5 C's that kick off this whole process? Well, they represent the 5 fundamental questions you have to answer before you can build any winning strategy. Who are your customers? What are your company's unique skills? Who is your competition? Who are your collaborators, the people who can help you? And finally, what's the external context you're operating in? So, we've laid out the entire blueprint, from that super high-level strategy all the way to the feedback loops that drive constant improvement, which leaves us with one final question for you to think about. What do you think is the most critical step for success? Is it the brilliant strategy? Is it the flawless execution? Or is it that constant analysis and learning? In a process this interconnected, where do you think the true key to success really lies?